Visual distortion, maybe color exaggeration, wiggly lines, moving patterns. I would not expect it to rob you of awareness of your reality, where you are, and your relationship with it. Moving patterns, moving patterns, moving patterns. Moving patterns. Moving patterns. visual distortion.
I give a jack about being able to express yourself without any sort of boundaries.
Being accepted, sticking out, not fitting in. Because this is uniqueness. This is what people should shine out.
Being able to do something and not have anything stop you. Because there's so many people and there's so many things out there that prevent people from really expressing themselves.
New best advice to fans. Put in the effort, take the time, learn to do what you do really, really well. Have fun with it.
Do what you can with what you have. Even if it's one person, if it's a family member, if it's a friend that's supporting you, go to them, work with them, like take their help, listen to them. Get everything you fucking can and fucking do it.
Music is fundamentally an emotional connection.
Doesn't matter where you're from in the world, what language you speak, music, we all speak that same language.
I believe that music gives us an opportunity to tap into something greater and to connect people.
The music industry is kind of like a giant vacuum now, and I think in order for art to thrive, you need a community.
Work at something and then hopefully meet the right person that can make it a little easier on you to make things happen.
Like an organization like Launch, which is finding these people, not only the musicians and the artists, but the people working on the back end of things who are also musicians and artists themselves, so they understand sort of the struggles we have to get together to help other artists. Because that's what every artist and musician needs. They need a team. You hear it with everyone, like unanimously.
Hey, what's up, Launch family? Brian here, and we're very excited to start this nightly broadcast. We're going to call it the Nightly Launch, and every night, starting at 7 p.m., starting tonight, for the next 15 days, we're going to have a little 2-hour program where we'll have recorded music, live music, workshops. You'll get to meet our team. You'll get to hear all about Launch and what we're creating. If you're just joining us, Launch is a community-based, profit-sharing artist collective. We're a home for artists and music fans. We're here to disrupt the old paradigm, simplify the music value chain, and create a music industry that supports artists, create a world that truly values art, and makes sure that artists get paid. And that's our mission. We believe that by empowering artists, we empower the world. And with that, very excited to introduce our first segment here. We're going to hear from Jurgis, who is an artist in Lithuania. He's very amazing, all about community and love and respect. He's a world musician. He's very much active in the Burning Man scene, a little bit in the Grateful Dead scene, very much player in the world music scene. All of his music is about community and love. So this was from our Solidarity Fest, a festival we did in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. And we're very happy to do that. Thanks everyone who tuned in. And without further ado, give it up for Jurgis, all the way from Lithuania. Jurgis, welcome, man.
I'm glad to be here. How y'all doing?
We're doing better now seeing you. How you doing?
Good. Happy to be here with you finally.
Thank you so very much. So you know what? I'm actually going to turn it over to you and just tell us about your first song that you're getting to play and what does it mean to you?
The first song I'm going to do is a song I wrote for my wife. It's called Skin. It's very much about the artist bearing all and people just looking, to taking the liberty of only seeing skin deep when there's so much more that a person is radiating. So it's mostly about people looking at my wife's ass when she's on stage rather than listening to the music and all the energy she's projecting. That's a pretty song.
I love it.
All right, let's try it out. Let's see how it goes. Beams of light like sheets descend upon you. Translucent skin refracts the glare. Won't you bless us with your eerie magic? Won't you grace us with your haunted stare? Love was all you had to offer. Skin is all you ever got. There you stood with piercing eyes surrounding, pupils fixed on you, though none can see. Your vital signs were fading in the cold. The love I have is all the warmth you need. And love was all you had to offer. Skin is all you ever got. Love was all you had to offer. Skin is all you ever got. You ever got. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how you're feeling this evening. I see that it's daytime where you are, most likely, if you're in New York or you're stateside. But where I am, in Eastern Europe, it's evening. It's night. It's a very beautiful night. And as you can see, I am alone here in my living room, acting, playing, out of faith and out of trust that you're out there listening. And now I'm into participative music, which means that I like to leave my music free and with enough space for you to get yourself engaged. So if you want to make the sound a little bit more beautiful, if you want to add your own special flavor, your own special spice, you can snap. Yeah, you can add that feeling, because I won't do it for you. Or you can clap. You can sing, love is all you, love is all you got, love is all you, love is all you got, love is all you, love is all you got, love is all you, love is all you, love was all you had to offer. Skin is all you ever got. Love was all you had to offer. Oh, yeah. Skin is all you ever got. That love is all we got. Everything else is superficial. And if you sing it with me, with the right intention, we might even resonate. Me being halfway around the world, try with me, here you go. Love is all you, Love is all you got. Love is all you. Love is all you got. Love is all you. Love is all you got. Love is all you. Love is all you. Love is all you had to offer. Second the count, yeah. Skin is all you ever got. You ever got. Love is all you. Love is all you got. Lovely. I see you're clapping. It's so beautiful. You know, for me, this is like phone sex. I really don't know what to expect. And it's actually really weird because I can hardly hear you. Here, let's do another song. You up for this? All right. This next song is called Love Warrior. It's about fighting hate, bigotry, stupidity with the only thing you can really fight it with, and that's with love, compassion, and empathy. And I wrote this song with a very good friend of mine. His name is Fantuzzi, who's actually in San Francisco at the moment. One of the original Love Warriors. It sounds like this. Son of Debas, the child of night, I was born into the dark, conceived in endless light. Listen, I am a whisper on a tranquil lake, a patch of icy calm in cataclysmic wake. Love warrior, a hippie in disguise, of unassuming form, of undistinguished size. You are a love warrior, 5 fingers in the air, clenched into a fist. Pretend that you don't care. You are a love warrior. Oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Yeah, rough around the edges, tender at the core. You are forbidden fruit that's ripe, but eager to explore. Auspicious omen, inconvenient truth. Barefoot at the mall, a weapon wielding youth. Love warrior, a hippie in disguise, of unassuming form, of undistinguished size. You are a love warrior, 5 fingers in the air, clenched into a fist. Pretend that you don't care. You are a love warrior. Oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Yeah. And again, because this is participative music, I need you to get the snare going with me. The snare is this. Like that, and you can sing it. You can sing it with me. You go, love warrior. Oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, 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 yeah. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, 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 love warrior. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa.
Oh my God, this is so fun.
You having a good time?
Yes. You have another?
I have one more.
Go.
Make it short, just not to run into anybody else's time. Now, again, I have to have enough faith and trust that you're jamming with me, that you're moving to this rhythm to complete the music. Because everything in life is music. It's beautiful vibration, interacting with beautiful vibration. It's an emotion and it's intention. So, what we're gonna do right now is I want you to sing with me. in your voice. I want you to hear your voice in your head accompanying this beautiful beat. The song is called Rolling Waves, and what I'm doing is I'm taking an old Lithuanian tune and I'm adapting it to something more contemporary to fit the modern palette. We're gonna sing, I hear rolling waves, I hear rolling waves. Try with me. I hear rolling waves. Like that, yeah. I hear rolling waves. And you keep singing. I hear rolling waves. And I go, pounding in my, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my ear. Sing a song for me from long ago. Pray to velvet sound that swell and flow. Who's to say this tune is yours or mine? Whispers that transcend the test of time. Pounding in my head. You go, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my head.
You're rolling waves.
Pounding in my head.
Rolling waves.
Songbirds sing a song that we all know. Where you learn that tune, no, you don't even know. No. Who's to say this tune is yours or mine? Whispers that transcend the test of time. Pounding in my head. Pounding in my, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my head. I hear rolling waves. Yeah, I hear rolling waves. Whoa, I hear rolling waves. Pounding in my head. Let's get a groove going. Yeah. The snaps and the claps are just for you. I don't hear them. But if you want that shit to groove properly, you need to add your spice. Yeah. Pounding in my head. Pounding in my head. Oh. Pounding in my eye, rolling waves. Pounding in my eye, rolling waves. Pounding in my eye, rolling waves. Pounding in my head. Yeah, eye, rolling waves. Eye, rolling waves. Yeah, eye, rolling waves. Pounding in my head. It's like a do-da-poo, 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 do-da, do-da-poo, 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 wow, wow, pounding in my head. Pounding in my head. Pounding in my head. Pounding in my head. Pounding in my. Lovely. It's a pleasure being part of this. Woo! Yeah. I hope the sound was decent. I hope it came through crystal clear. I don't know how the sound is sounding, but I can tell you my heart is in the right place, and I'm reaching out to all you beautiful people listening, and just with the message of love, man, because you can't do anything with this current situation if you're not elevating your vibration a bit higher. And the only way to go is listen to this thing a little bit more, add a bit more love. That's the magic spice.
Oh my
All
God.
right?
Well
Question.
said.
Absolutely well said, beautifully said. I kind of just want to know a little bit because this festival is also about hearing who you are as the artist and how what's going on is impacting you, and what do you see, and what are some takeaways you would like for us to go after listening to these beautiful songs?
Well, it's strange because I think music, we're used to consuming music, plugging in our earphones and just getting ourselves into like a meditative trance. But music is everywhere. Like the cycles of the earth are music. The birds chirping is music. The crickets are music. Even I don't know if you're in New York, the subway, rolling back and forth, it's music. Everything is this kind of like vibration. And sometimes you just need to listen to what's happening. And lately, I just feel that there's dissonance. There's so much dissonance, and I have so many friends in the States which are like confrontational at the moment. And for me, it's really weird because you're so alike, you're so similar. It's like we're the same people, and actually, just to we don't need to see eye to eye. We don't need to agree. We just need to understand each other's plight, pain, what we've been through. We don't need to, we don't need to have the same world views. All we need to do is kind of like, understand that true harmony, real beautiful music is about people finding their notes amongst others. And if we just listen, if we just like kind of tune ourselves to other people, we can really get the same note, and we don't need to be in discourse or in discord. And I just wish there was a little bit more of just, step back, listen, come back into tune, this kind of thing. And I think music is very good medicine for that. And especially when you listen to all the great music that's come from, me personally, again, there's a friend who's saying like all the beautiful music that's come from the States. And if you look at it, the way that the United States was a melting pot for all these beautiful genres, it was people taking a bit of this, it was people taking a bit of that, it was people bringing their cultures from all the way across the Atlantic and from far, far away, and saying we can mix this up and turn it into something much nicer. And how that beautiful music, that beautiful harmony has turned into dissonance is a real friggin' shame.
I absolutely agree. And I very much thank you for being a part of this show. Your music gives a lot of happiness. It's just more of being in the moment and enjoying yourself and kind of laughing also at awkward situations, like people looking at your wife's butt. And you made that situation that could have been very upsetting into a very groove and funny and happy go-getting song. So I can't wait to hear more from you. I can't wait to have you again on our programs because you're always so fun. And thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right. Mwah. Have a lovely Saturday. It was lovely being here. Take care of yourselves.
Absolutely. Okay, next up, I would love to introduce Kendra Black.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jurgis, for that. That was unreal. And, it's never, ever too late. It's never too late to take a look at our lives and just think about why we do it and what we're doing. And music heals. I know I love music because anytime I'm feeling bad, it makes me feel good. That's all. As you can tell, this is not scripted at all. I probably sound like an idiot and I'm rambling here, but I just wanted to take a moment and just reflect on how much we all love music and how much music is a part of who we are, and how much music can be an agent of change, and how music always aligns with anything going on in the world in terms of upheaval or transition or unrest. So we need music now more than ever. And with that, very, very happy to introduce the next artist we have. This is Jonathan Scales of the Jonathan Scales Orchestra. So give it up from your quarantines for Jonathan Scales. And after that, we are going to hear from our program director, Teresia Huggins, who's going to introduce the next act. So thanks for being here. And if you believe in what we're doing, and if you want to create a world where artists are truly valued, I invite you to click that link on your screen and check out our WeFunder. We have our beta virtual venue up, and right now we're raising money to get some marketing behind it, start pushing subscriptions, and really start honoring our promise, which is to get artists paid. So by helping us get our fundraising together, you'll be helping us start generating revenue for independent artists and honoring our commitment to them. So please enjoy this music coming up, and if you feel like giving and supporting, if you like what we're doing here and you want to be a part of it, you want to be on the team, just click that link below and check out our WeFunder campaign. All right, I'll give it up for Jonathan Scales.
God, that was so wonderful. All right, guys. Well, I want to make sure that I definitely read to you guys because this also is a fundraiser about the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So I'm actually going to read a bit of a blurb directly off their page. So it says, support the fight for racial justice, where we are living in a moment unlike any we have seen before. LDF will continue to work to protect the most vulnerable in our society during this time. The fight to defend our civil and human rights has never been more critical. Donate today to help us win landmark legal battles, protect voters across the nation, and advance the case of racial justice, equality, and inclusion in our society. So you actually see a clickable link. You can go there and actually donate. Every dollar means so much. It is just making us one more step into the right direction and making, this just the beautiful place that we know it is. With that said, I want to actually introduce you guys to another act. She has worked with Launch on a couple of shows. She's been on a 24-hour live stream show. She's had her own solo performance. Oh my goodness, she's from Texas. She's just a bubble of joy. She's very, very sweet. And she has such a soulful, bellowing voice. And she just knows how to make you feel comfortable, happy, and good. And I think that's exactly what we need in this climate. Her name is Karaleigh, and she's also with her guitarist. And I just want you guys to sit back and enjoy.
Wanted you to love me, and I gave it my best, but you didn't. You just didn't. Start to think about all the times we might have connected, but didn't. You just didn't. Talk about the force of such reality hitting, thinking it wouldn't. But I'm getting tired of the games that we played. Every day I get more weary and gray. But in the end, it's too hard to be your friend. Got this feeling inside, it's crowding my mind. I've been wasting time trying to think what's on your mind. Get stuck in my head, yeah. Thinking what you said, you gotta let me be in this harsh reality of you and I, just not what's happened right, yeah. Keep it up and you'll have all the things that you wanted. It's such a struggle, 'cause when I'm not with you, I feel like I never grow and never get in my way. I'm getting tired of all the things that you say, that we're more than friends, but then you pretend that you don't know my name. And I start thinking I might walk away. I say it again, I'm tired of begging you to stay. Won't wait another day for you to walk my way. I've been wasting time thinking what's on your mind. love to you. Have I wasted time? Yeah, yeah. Oh, have I wasted time? Yeah. Oh, have I wasted time thinking what's on your mind? Get stuck in my head, yeah. Thinking of what you said. You gotta let me be in this harsh reality of you and I just not getting something right, yeah. Yeah, baby, yeah. Alright, so my name's Karaleigh. This is my guitarist Austin, and we're just gonna play a couple more originals for you guys today in honor of Black Lives Matter, just being original and letting that shine. This next one is called Be a Friend. So this one is extremely important to me because it just talks about like being there for people, and I feel like right now is just the perfect time to hear that message. Just being there for everyone who's gone through oppression, you know, Black people, being there for them and standing with them. So this one's for you guys. Drinking in front of the TV, just trying to drown all my memories. Oh, grabbing it out 'cause my feelings, yeah, yeah. I stuffed in a pillow where I'm sleeping. Oh, sitting at home, thinking alone, time flies by. Want to rewind, rewrite my life. I'm not fine, though. Gotta try and talk about my problems. If you listen to them, yeah. Just keeping secrets doesn't help with your mental health. No, be a friend and help me figure this out, yeah. So be a friend, friend, friend. Whoa, boy. Be a friend, friend, friend. Whoa. Take my mind off of these situations. Can I take a walk on the beach, feeling good vibrations, instead of sitting at home, thinking alone, time flies by. I want to rewind and rewrite my life. I'm not fine, no, about my problems, yeah, yeah. If you listen to them, 'cause keeping secrets doesn't help with your mental health. No, no, be a friend and help me figure this out, yeah. So be a friend, friend, friend. Whoa. Be a friend, friend, friend. Whoa. Yeah, let's lounge, sitting with our coffee, yeah. Just 10 minutes of your time. Chat about what makes us feel all crazy, yeah. But then you'd be no friend of mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh, oh, oh. If you listen to them, yeah. we have our last one. This one is called Okay to Not Be Okay. And I wrote this a few years ago when I was just in a really interesting place in life. I felt like I was lonely, just had all these feelings. Was a little emo. And honestly, this song has gotten me through so many hard places in my life. And it's actually on Spotify if you want to listen to it. And yeah, we're just gonna play it for you. My guitar okay?
I think so. Right? Play it.
Okay. All right, there we go. Tonight, this feeling of my life's getting bigger than I know how to fight, but I know that it's okay tonight. It'll be okay. Ooh. This life is a journey. Oh, 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 oh. Tonight, this feeling of my life's getting bigger than I know how to fight, but I know that it's okay tonight. It'll be okay. Ooh, I promise that it's fine. It's been a while, but you made me smile, and I have a love for you that won't go away. So you can just trust that it will be okay. Yeah, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. Tonight, this feeling of my life's getting bigger than I know how to fight, but I know that it's okay tonight. It'll be okay. Ooh, this fight has got us feeling like we're just too low to just survive, but I know that it's okay tonight. It'll be okay. Your smile, I miss your kiss, I miss your touch, reminiscing. I love the fun we had, why didn't I last? I want you back, but you're stuck in my past. You messed up, yeah, I know I did, but you acting like you still committed. Yes, I love you and that ain't gon' change. It's okay not to be okay. Tonight, this feeling of my life's getting bigger than I know how to fight, but I know that it's okay tonight. It'll be okay. Whoa, whoa, yeah, yeah. Tonight, this feeling of my life's getting bigger than I know how to fight, but I know that it's okay tonight. Be okay. It's okay tonight, be okay, not be okay. Alright, so that was the end of our set, guys, but check out Okay to Not Be Okay on Spotify. Just came out in November actually of last year, which was actually quite a while ago now that I think about it. But yes, also follow Karaleigh's music on Instagram as well as Austin B. Moon on Instagram. He actually writes his own songs as well, and they're awesome. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Alrighty, everyone, welcome. This is Workshop Wednesday. I am Brian Stollery, and I represent Launch side of the house, and I'm very, very, very pleased to introduce our good pals and collaborators at the Producer's Edge. We have Gonzalo Silva, Spencer Froh. What up, dudes? How are we doing? How's the quarantine?
We're doing good. Well, I'm doing good.
Yeah. Well, we're figuring out, this whole web-based community, web-based education. And the good thing about that is even once, the quarantine ends, we're still going to have all this web presence that we were too lazy to figure out before. So at least there's that. But yeah, we're adjusting to a new experience of life right now.
Absolutely, and that's a really good way to look at it, man. How much more are we all going to learn? How much are we all getting to work on tunes? So I'm gonna turn it over to you guys, and just want to thank you for being here. Can't wait to see what we come up with. Why don't you tell all our viewers what we're going to be working on today's Workshop Wednesday?
Sure. So today we're going to be working on a dog called Soundtrap. It's a free app that you can download. You don't have to download. You run on your web browser. The version that we're going to be using is called the EDU account. It's an educational one. So there's going to be a lot more sounds available to us. But if you sign up for the free account, I believe you have 30 days of all the sounds. So it's a good place to start. And also, whoever's joining us, we're going to be dropping a free sound pack with all the sounds that we're going to be using in this track. Well, not all the sounds. I think we're just going to go through some of the sounds. It's a lot of sounds we downloaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm putting it, for anyone watching, I'm putting that sound pack in the link to all the comments right now. And if you're watching on Launch TV, just pop over to the Facebook and you can grab the link there. Or if you need the link, shoot me an email, brian@launchglobal.co, and I'll send you the pack. So anyone can get it in the track. This is Workshop Wednesday. This is the Producer's Edge. You are on launchglobal.tv. Today we're remixing the Marvel Universe. What can I say? I am Groot.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Yes, thank you
guys.
So I wanted to start off with some of the sounds that we've collected, and also to kind of bring up something about the sounds that we collected. We are going to be sampling the Marvel Universe. And we're not going to be touching any of the music. But what we're going to be using is mostly the sound effects, some of the sounds. What was kind of unique to this, because we did another one before where we sampled Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot more open sounds for Star Wars. With Marvel Universe, it was a little difficult to find just specific sounds that we really wanted to use.
Yeah, so for example, the voices, like actually getting voices, it was so hard to find it without music in the background and whatnot. So I actually had to get several voices from video games because you could find the individual voices like taken from the video games. So you got to find workarounds sometimes for things like that.
Right. And I think the cool thing, that we're really going to be showing is, I mean, what this really is going to be more of a lesson in like sampling and chopping and just getting creative with effects, right? So let's jump right into some of these sounds that we came up with today. So on your sound pack that you receive, you're gonna get these sounds here. So you're gonna get something like this. Let's see if it plays. And just sort of well, this might be a very long sound.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So how did you?
I had so much
Big
fun.
Group. How did you put those sounds into your?
So yeah.
How did you import them?
So I wanted to talk about what the workflow that I have with Soundtrap. So Soundtrap is very similar to using things like GarageBand or Logic. As you can see right here, I got on my loops, right? So how did I get the sounds in here? The way I did it was I actually played them from my phone and recorded them from my audio, what do you call it, my sound card directly into the app. So for instance, if I wanted to capture a sound, for instance, if I want to capture my microphone, I can just bring up a microphone. This is exactly how I did it. I choose my microphone. I do a sound test, which just so I can go a little slower. If I want to add something, we're just going to add a track. So I'm going to add a voice or microphone. What's cool about Soundtrap, you also have your MIDI sounds. And if I had a guitar or a bass, I can plug it in and use the amp that's built into it. But I just want to record my voice or a sound. Quick. What you want to do is you want to put it clean, and then you want to start adding effects. So once I'm ready, and I'm going to just solo this, I can start recording. And, oh, am I using my headphones? Yes, I am. So here we go. Okay. Got a little metronome right here. Hey, yeah. Not very impressive, but here we go. Hey, yeah. So you can record things into here. So in that same way,
turn off your.
In that same way, I'm able to. Yeah, it doubles it up. In that same way, I'm able to record sound. So that's what I really did. I just went into YouTube, started looking for all these sounds, and starting recording into the program. And one of the unique things that I love about Soundtrap is, let's say for instance, I want to take this hey that I created, all right, and let me just make it a little more exciting. Let's add some vocal effects to it. So what's cool is that this comes already with a bunch of presets. So if I grab something like this garage one, let's see what that sounds like over my boring hey. Hey, yeah. Cool. So let's say I want to save that. Now, one of the things that I could do is just go right here to edit, and I can add that to my library loop. And that's exactly how I came up with all these sound packs. Now, what that allows you to do is, in this case, everything that we saved in there was pretty much just one shots. And what that means is that it's just something that you would play like one time. For instance, like a drum or some kind of percussion, or just a sound effect, which that's what most of these things are. They're just sound effects and some vocals. So I'm going to add loop to library. And then I can just call it, hey, yeah. And I'm going to call it a one shot. Now, if this were something with like some kind of melody, you would want to time it out. Make sure you have the right BPM, and then you also have it in the right key. Once you hit save, and I'm going to just hit add loop, it's going to go into my library, into my personal library. So unfortunately, I'm not able to save or send everybody this library. This is my own personal library, but this is how you get it done. So here's my hey yeah. Hey yeah. And now what I can do with that is I can use whatever's in that library and now open up another project and start creating something new. So let's go into what I already created here. So let's take this out of here. Don't need that. Okay, so we started creating something kind of crazy in here. There's a lot of sound effects in here. So let's.
You want it? Maybe we should just play it and then go back over.
Okay. So all right. So here's the. Here's my presentation. Here we go.
Hulk smash!
Did it stop? I actually don't hear.
You're about to deal with forces.
Oh, you don't hear it? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I'm sharing. All right.
Or you heard it.
Oh, let's try it again.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Disappeared.
So I'll turn it up a little bit, maybe.
You're about to deal with forces you can't possibly comprehend.
So I purposely left this last part out because every time I was trying to cut something or split it, it would do this crazy thing where it would just create like a copy version of that and then would split it into like 30 seconds, and it just wasn't working for me. So what I wanted to show everybody was exactly what I did. So let's look at the first sound that I have here. Not this Milky. This is actually a drum set that is included in here. So this is just some of the sounds that I ended up using. But this first sound, this Doc Ock kick. So this actually came from, where's Doc Ock? So it came from the Fusion generator. So let's listen to that real quick. So this is a really long sample, but it's got a lot of good tones in it, especially the bass tone. So that first sound, that's it. That's all I took, just that first sound. And now that I'm hearing it, there's actually some more sounds in there that I'm like, okay, maybe I could use that as a kick too. But that first sound is all I used, and I'm gonna solo that. And this is it right here. And what I did was I just took that sound and chopped it up. So here we go. And then I used a little bit of a compressor. So I'm going to basically recreate that sound. So here we go. Let's open Doc Ock. All right, it's a very long sound, like I said before. So just that very beginning of the sound is all I took. And as you can see, we can just zoom in and get real into the sound. So it's just that first sound is all I took, was this. And then there's a little bit of it doesn't really end. It ends kind of abruptly. So what I usually do is when sounds that have that kind of abrupt or space, I'll add a little bit of a fade out. And then also you want it to land at the very top of that sound. You don't want that little space in between it. So I'll just move this here. And so here we go. Here's my kick. And I mean, it was very basic as far as doing that part. Now, the other parts are adding effects. So let's go into the effects. So here I can add effects. So first off, right off the bat, I have some controls here. I have bass, treble, reverb, pan, and volume. So I'm going to turn down a little bit of the treble. And then I'm going to go right in here. And then I'm going to look for the filter. And all I'm really trying to use the filter for is trying to bring out some of that low end. And then the other thing I want to do is add a little bit of EQ. Let's focus just on that part right there. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm going to just create a small loop so that way I can just concentrate on that one sound. All right. Make it a little smaller. Oh, that's just a 1-bar loop. All right, here we go. So the other thing that I was trying to figure out is once I have the sound and, you know, I start adding all these different effects to it, and I forgot to add the compressor. To fatten up the sound, now how do I start creating a rhythm, right? So one of the first things that I had to decide on was what BPM did I want the song to be. So what ultimately made me come up with that BPM was this, where's that sound? Was it the, oh, here we go, the Sonic Cannon. So I know it doesn't necessarily have a rhythm, but you can kind of like tap it out a little bit to try to figure out what kind of rhythm it has. So I mean, it does have a rhythm, right? So I kind of tapped it in, right? I tapped in that rhythm. All right, I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to mess up my beat so far. And then once I have that rhythm, now I can have a metronome and I can listen to something that has a rhythm and figure out what kind of beat I want to create. All right. So then from this point on, now this is one of the things that it's that I have a little bit of a not an issue, but you know, I'm pretty sure Soundtrap can get a little better, and it has gotten better throughout the years. But I think one of the things that is missing is just the ability for you to create your own sound pack and then use like the pattern beat maker to just bring your own sounds. I hope that's something that they do soon because it would be a killer if that was the case. But if not, so I learned how to produce using things like Sony Acid. So Sony Acid was pretty much just manipulating samples. Right, so you can bring samples in there, but there was really no beat grid unless you had an extra VST. So the way we figured out how to make beats was copy and paste, good old copy and paste. So you just take a sound, you figure out where you want the next one, you paste it, right? Real easy. So let's listen to that. Pretty basic, right? So that's how I created the kick drum. Out of using the Doc Ock's fusion generator sound. All right. The other sounds that I have on here, the first two sounds down here in the bottom, they're just sound effects. So there's really no rhythm to it. And these are just the vocals. So this is what that intro sounds like again.
Hulk smash!
I love that intro. So let's go into the next element in this instrumental. The next element that I found was this Wolverine Claw hi-hat. And I believe it was Wolverine Claw 1. I found 3 different ones. So I took this sound. So that very first shing sound that it does, here we go. So I try to find some sort of rhythm to this. And I think one of the easiest things that you could do to kind of create that is the same concept as creating the kick. The only difference is what I'd be able to do is just create a loop. So now I could either extend the whole sample, right? Or just get a little part of it and then loop it, right? And then by grabbing this part over here at the bottom, I can actually extend it to whatever size I want. So I want it to fit within this 1 bar region that I have right now. So this is what this sounds like. And actually it was a little tighter than that. Let's do that. Oops. So I'm gonna
turn the volume down a little bit on I think the whole track.
It's a little too loud. Okay.
Those claws are serious. I feel like I'm getting Wolverine chops. Ha!
Actually, I might keep that. And then, so now what we're going to be doing with this is the opposite of what we did with the bass, right? So the bass or that kick sound, what we were trying to do was really bring out all the low end and give it some oomph to it, right? Now here we want to do the opposite. We want to take the low end out because we're trying to mimic what is, I guess it sounds more like a shaker than a hi-hat, but I called it a hi-hat. And then, use the same sort of effects, but except now we're doing the opposite. We're trying to cut the lows. So this is how it sounds originally. I'm gonna take the bass out and adjust the lows. And then one of the other things that you can do is use things like, for instance, like this EQ to kind of bring out some of those mid-range sounds just a little bit. And just so you know, if I want to bypass an effect, I just hit this sound and then I can kind of hear it. And I can also further take down more of the lower frequencies and really shape a little better. There we go. And then add a little bit of reverb. Nice.
So you heard a ding before, and that was me submitting an edit because I am collaborating. I'm a collaborator.
I was gonna ask you, is it possible, because I don't think I'll be able to see everything that you're doing. So the cool thing about Soundtrap is that we can collaborate, and that's why you have this little chat box over here, the little chat section. We can collaborate with anybody in the world, and all we have to do is just send them this link, and they'll be able to join us in this project. But I think because we're both signed into the same account, any of the collaborative stuff or any of the things that you change, I won't be able to really see it. Like unless I
once I save, yeah.
So let me try saving it.
So you should have. I just added an ending with Galactus.
Oh, sick.
and
this is the great thing about these programs is that there's
you see it.
No,
it's at the bottom. No. It's right there. Galactus voice gallery. There's 2 of them.
Where? Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I guess you can do it. All right, that's awesome. I was afraid that we weren't be able to do that. But yeah, the great thing about things like Soundtrap, especially right now with COVID and stuff, and is that you can collaborate with anybody in the world. So you can just, if let's say, for instance, I mean, we know so many different instrumentalists and players and stuff like that, that if we wanted to add somebody who plays the live bass, we can just hit them up and send them this track and they can just record their part into it.
And singers, rappers,
yeah.
you know, anything you can imagine, you could use this as an awesome collaborative resource for music.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've learned today in creating the sound pack was how easy it was for me to just export a particular track. So let's say, for instance, I want this kick, I can just export this track into its own file, and it saves it as a wave. So it's perfect if you're gonna be collaborating. Let's say, for instance, you create it on here, and I mean, the Soundtrap has some limitations. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. The Soundtrap has a lot of limitations. For instance, if you notice, there is no what do you call it? Aside from this down here, there's no way for me to tell what level my volumes are. So a lot of it is just me doing it in my headphones and just figuring it out. But now that I know I can export all these sounds and basically create stems, I can just bring them into Logic or Ableton, and then I can just mix it down in there and further use, those effects that are in there. But to get something started and to get something going, this is pretty good.
And there's a reason for that. Like, if it was too complicated, then it would use up a lot more of your Wi-Fi resources, and it would be, it would crash, and there'd be more issues. So they give you like the most important elements to create with. And yeah, we made a song that I then brought into Logic, and I mixed in Logic just to have that more control. But you could still do a lot within Soundtrap itself.
Oh yeah. I mean, and especially, and this is one of these resources that I've used throughout the years to get my students to just learn how to record themselves and get comfortable with it. And what's cool too is that it's available on like several devices, so you could also use it on your phone. When before COVID, and I was traveling all over New York, I used to go like in the subways, and you hear people just playing. So I'd go, ask them, give them $1 or something, and if I could record them, and record just parts into my phone, and then since it was already in the project on the site, all I had to do was go home on my computer, open it up, and I had all these sounds in there that I can edit and manipulate and do stuff with.
That's awesome.
I
didn't even think about that. You just walk up to someone with Soundtrap open on your phone and just record them into a layer.
What's funny too is that I think their commercial had that. I mean, it doesn't work that great. It doesn't work that great as far as the way it. There's a little bit of lag. You know what I'm saying? So if you're trying to record somebody, and especially and that's the other thing too. It depends on the sound quality of your microphone. There's a lot of factors.
There'll be background noise in the subway, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. Background noise. But I mean, if I had a better microphone, you know what I'm saying? If I had something that was, what do you call it? Like something that just wasn't that sensitive, or something that would record like a small cardioid microphone, or something like a lapel might work a little better. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna eliminate any of that noise, but I can put it closer to their instrument.
Well, we're fans of the Samson Go mic, which is a USB microphone that's like $30 that sounds pretty awesome. And it could clip on to things, and so that's one option. If you just have an adapter for your phone to USB, which is available for everything.
Yes. So let's go to the next sound. So this is how I ended up coming up with the snare. I believe it was this one.
I think the snare is one of my favorite sounds on here.
Yeah, so let me play the snare, and then I'll play where the source came from.
Play the whole. Play just the beat.
Yeah.
Solo the 3 pieces of the beat. Yeah.
let's just listen to that snare real quick.
I want to get like Wolverine to rap on this. Yo, I'm Wolverine. Chop you into smithereens, bub.
Bars.
Bars. Claws.
So all we did was use one of the same Wolverine claw sounds. So let's open that up. And basically do the same thing that we did with the hi-hat, except now we're really trying to focus more on the mid-range sound and some of the highs. So let's undo that here. And
just, you know, the little headphones are soloing the track, and the little X
is mute.
Turn it off. Yeah.
Right. So here we go. This is the sound that we have. There we go. That was that sound right there. It was that second hit. And I basically did the same thing I did with my kick drum, where I just basically isolated the sound that I wanted. Okay. Here we go. And then just kind of emphasize on the frequency that I really want to bring out, which is like I said, is mostly mid-range. So I'm going to add the same equalizer, bring up the mid. So, and it sees right here, it says low, mid, and high. So these are your controls. I mean, it doesn't give you a lot of control, but it gives you something, and it works pretty well. So let's hear it. Add a little bit of reverb. Now, the other cool thing is, one of the things that you can do with this program too that I didn't even think about until like later was you could layer your sounds. So let's say, for instance, I want to really turn this into a snare sound, right? Not just mimic a snare sound, but add another snare sound to create a layer. So that way that sound sounds a little closer to a snare. So let me explain. So I'm going to add a drum. Okay. And actually, you know what? Let me just look for a drum instead of doing all this. So there's two ways of doing this. I can either open up a drum pattern and just add a drum, or I can just go here and just type in snare. And what I'm going to be looking for is a one-shot snare. Okay. I don't want to hear like a whole pattern. And that's the cool thing about this app, is that you can find, they'll have sound packs, and I believe Splice has a bunch of sounds in here as well. But one of the things you want to stay away from, not stay away from, one of the things that I recommend for you to do when you're creating your music is to try to look for the individual sounds, as opposed to something like this where it might say like kick snare, right? So this already has a pattern, right? I just want to use the sound. So I like that. So let's say I want to add that. So I'm going to add that in here. Now, all I'm really looking for is just the snare, okay? Everything else that's in this pattern, I don't want to use. So let's look for the snare. I believe it's this sound right there. And I'm just going to eliminate this. So let's hear that. Oh. Haha. So I'm going to open this up too so we can see. So this is what's called the piano roll. What's cool about this too is that some of the sounds in here, especially things that come from a sound pack, you could use the piano roll, or like I said, I can use the pattern. But let's say I want to add this to it. So now we have this sound here. All right. So it's that combined with that snare. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit because it's very loud. There you go. Now it sounds a little more like a snare. So how do I combine these two? Now, like I said, when I was using things like Acid, you just basically copied and pasted and had to follow a whole a whole pattern of things going down the line. So what's cool about this is I can combine these two sounds. So this one's called, let me just remember the name. It's called Wolverine Claw 3, and this is Brampton Beat 3. So I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to merge tracks. And I'm going to look for those two sounds, which are the very last two sounds right here. And then I'm going to merge. So what's going to happen, so you're not going to see this anymore. All right, you're not going to see my MIDI note, and you're not going to see this wave. What's going to happen is they're going to combine it, and it's going to create a wave of those two sounds combined. So here we go. Let's do that. And there we go. Here's my snare. Now let's mute it. Let's solo it. So there's my snare sound. Now I know it seems like a lot of work to get just one little snare, but trust me, it's worth it when you start hearing that. You know, it's a very unique sound, right? I can use some things to fatten it up.
Yeah,
So,
and you know, like obviously you could just use there's various drum sounds and packs and loops and things like you don't have to create it from samples like we're doing because this is specifically about sampling to create with using the Marvel universe. Of course, you could do this with any movie or sound you could find. But yeah, basically, we are doing it in such a way where we're creating it from scratch. So there's a little bit extra layer of work to do.
Mhm.
But I think like that's sort of the test of a good sound engineer or producer is like, can you kind of get geeky about it and really like get into the nitty gritty and make it work.
Yeah, and you know, that's one of my favorite things about creating music this way is that it's never gonna sound the same, no matter whether you're using a different type of sample or a different DAW. It'll always you'll not always get different results, but unless you use the same kind of settings or presets or those kind of sounds, you're always gonna come up with a unique sound. And then also you also come up with unique solutions, like for instance taking these sounds which don't really have a rhythm to it, or a lot of these are I mean except for that like long wavy sound, but there's certain sounds in here that are just sound effects, and kind of creating a rhythm with that. And I think that's one of the cool things about this program is that they really went in with adding different sounds. So like their sound kits, like these are acoustic sounds, but they're more like electronic sounding. This is the one I'm using, Milky. This one, Raccoon, is new. It's pretty cool. And they started adding some more like effects, which is really freaking cool. Yeah. So and then they
which
have
is
some
what we're
process
doing
ones.
basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Now that's what I'm saying. So my only wish, and I hope Soundtrap, whoever's at Soundtrap or Spotify or whatever, sees this. I hope you add a way, like if you can add a way for us to add sounds or create our own sound packs. That would be so awesome, because that's really the only thing that I feel like, oh man, I mean that, and then being able to see the levels, but that's not really. I like the challenge of just using my ears, and then putting it into another DAW and probably coming up with some better results. But just that would be the killer right there. If you were able to just add your own kick and snare and create your own sound pack, oh, that'd be so dope. I mean, the only thing you can do as far as saving presets is just the effects that you add, which is cool.
Nice.
I'm not gonna complain. That's pretty awesome in its own. So let's listen to the rest of the song, and especially since we were talking about using like the sounds that come with it. So the other couple layers that we have over here, I'm just gonna move these a little closer to each other so that way we're focused on those.
And the bass.
So things, yeah, like that bass. Let's go. Come on, move up, move on up, move on up. All right, here we go. All right, so these elements that you see here, and I'm gonna solo these, are all sounds that we found inside Soundtrap. So let's listen to what we have without any of the other things layered in. So here we go.
I think you turned the bass down slightly. It's a little loud. No, I mean the bass itself. It's dominating.
Play that back again with all the other elements in there so you can see what all these things sound layered up. Okay, so we're gonna just start from this point again, from that bass note, so we can hear it all together. So here we go.
You're about to deal with forces you can't possibly comprehend.
To it. Well, like I said, I was adding something to it, so I'm going to show you a little more about the chopping that I did to also change the MIDI notes on the piano and on the drum. So there was.
And let's say, let's mention that those are loops. Did you write the Milky beat, or was that a loop?
Oh no. The Milky beat, yes, I did write that. I wrote that beat.
Using
it's a very simple beat. I'm pretty sure there's something in there that's a little more elaborate.
Did you play it or sequence it?
I sequenced it. I used the pattern maker. Yeah. What I didn't play was that the 2 piano loop. So let's look that up. And what's really cool about these apps is that you can. So for instance, how did I come up that it was a F flat? I think when I heard that first tone. I usually what I do is like I'll hear a tone, and then I'll bring up a piano. So like I'll bring up a piano, and I will try to play the grand piano. Here we go. So I'll listen to a tone. So let's say, for instance, I don't know. Let's hear one of these. Yeah. Like the electric part, right? So I hum to it to try to capture the note, right? So here we go. Right, and then what I try to do is I go into the piano, and it's muted. Hold on, here we go. So I try to look for the note in a sound, and I don't think it was that sound that I did it to. I think it might have been the that's what it was. I forgot to mention this last sound right here. This Sandman transformation.
Yeah, because that's such the intro, and you weren't really using that necessarily with the rest of the tracks. But this.
Well, listen to it. So what I did was I chopped up that sound, and then I try to pitch it up and down so I can kind of create a chord. It didn't really do the effect that I really wanted to, because it's basically a lot of bass, and it's not just bass; it's sub bass. It's like a really low frequency, so you really just hear it more vibrating, and then all those other sounds that are on top of it are just other things that are that are layered.
It's funny that's. You barely hear that when you play everything else. It just kind of like sits in there.
Yeah.
And the track is so chill, but in the meanwhile, there's this like crazy jet engine sound you don't even realize.
Right.
Hulk smash!
that's also just so. Let me just mention this too. This sound is also fighting with the bass. If you hear it, and I think that's why I had the bass up so high. So what happens is that these two frequencies are kind of clashing with each other. So what I would do is just kind of go into this thing and just give it some room. So I'm gonna go into this filter, and I'm just gonna cut a little bit of the bass out, and let's see how that feels with.
Yep. Already.
Yeah, you can hear it way better. And that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you identify what sounds are being made, and then try to see what frequencies they're really falling on, and then use that to, decide on what's going to be the stronger one and how you want it to come out. Because even things like a kick and a bass could sometimes be at odds with each other. So you have to either lower the volume of something, or in this case, you had the volume up very loud. What I ended up doing was adding a little bit of a compressor, which is this right here, compressor 1. And, just without having to raise the volume up, just kind of raise let the effect do that work, So the last thing I want to talk about was just chopping up some of these sounds. So there's a switch up in this beat, and oops, I went too far. So there's a switch up in the beat, and it's right here. Keep going past it, right here. Just so you hear what the difference is, and again, it's just these three instruments going.
That sound.
Yeah, that was an afterthought. That was over here in the bottom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Drum fill. Got it.
Yeah.
It's high.
So dope. But yeah, so there's a switch up. So what I did on that one was go into my piano roll, and you could see that these two are divided, right? But aside from it being divided here, first couple notes just play through, right? It's not short. And then what I did to kind of make a different version of that same thing was I just kind of shortened all the notes, right?
Yeah. It almost sounds like salsa all of a sudden.
Right. Well, right, because it kind of gives you that it gives you more of a syncopated feeling as opposed to just a whole note being held down, or chords being held down for like a bar.
Yeah.
This way, I'm playing within the bar, so you're hearing. And actually, your bass line definitely complements it. So thank you for that one.
Nice. Yeah, that was
and
my
main
contribution.
I also added, so the drums also did something a little different too. So if we look at the drum sequence here, right? So let's listen to this. So this has, let me actually solo just the drums. And here's the switch up. And how I came up with that really was by just kind of chopping up this drum sound. And that's what I wanted to do now, was basically create that same thing that I started doing initially, and figuring out some sort of another rhythm that I could use that, right? So let me just cut this actually. All right, so I'm gonna make it small, and I noticed that when I would play it, Sorry, everybody.
It's very jumpy.
My computer's drunk. So, what I noticed is that when I would play that, it would make. So I wanted to kind of keep that boom, 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 boom. So I wanted to create that sort of vibe to it. So as opposed to what the original rhythm that I had set up to it, I ended up doing. So it originally sounds like this. And all I did was just do this and then loop it. And it sort of gave me this. And then I think I did it one more time. Yeah, and then just stopped it there. And then I just copied and pasted that whole bar and move it to the next line. And that's basically how I came up with that drum. That's how I came up with the kick on this. Right.
Nice.
And yeah, so I can actually do that now. Copy and paste. Right. And then I was gonna do the same thing for my my snare. I was gonna copy this snare here, paste it, and basically do the same thing. Try to figure out the rhythm that I have on there. So now I'm just gonna move this closer to this so I can see what I'm doing. So all I really wanted to do was just kind of mimic my snare sound. So here's my snares. I mean, that kind of works also. It actually sounds pretty good. It sounds like a call and response drum almost. Let's keep that. Let's see what that sounds like.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I like that. I think we're gonna keep that. So, oops. Didn't wanna. Okay, here we go.
All must submit to the rule of Galactus.
It had to be done.
I love it, man.
Had to be done.
Yeah, no. So I have tons of fun. Like this is just this is just a great kind of like mental workout. And it's especially with just a workout in your creativity, because none of these sounds have like I said, some sort of melody to it, or I mean, some of these sounds did have a rhythm to it, but they were just sounds, they're just sound effects, they're just random whatever's, and we put them together to create something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the help of some of the sounds that come with Soundtrap, but as opposed to just making, and I don't want to call it a boring beat, we made it a little more interesting. We added a little spice to it. We filled in a lot of the frequencies in there by just finding these different sounds.
Do you want to play the Star Wars one real quick? Because I haven't heard it in a while. And it's just another example of
what's
doing
possible?
this, of combining like the resources.
Was it this one?
In Soundtrap. It's a Soundtrap. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to take forever now. All right, let me just open it in the studio.
It's thinking.
Yeah. In the meantime, while this loads, it's gonna take forever now. There it goes. Yeah, we're gonna be doing some other workshops, and we're gonna be using different type of DAWs as well. Soundtrap is just one, like I said, is one of my favorite ones because it's just a lot more collaborative. So if people are interested in joining our projects, make sure that you follow us and send us your email. And we can add you to some of these projects if you're willing to, want to collaborate.
Yeah. And what next week, Dana J? I'm not sure if it's going to be at 7 or 8, like we don't have the exact time yet, but stay tuned. But Dana J will be creating a beat using video game music, specifically Nintendo music. So some old school stuff in there, maybe some newer stuff from like the Switch era. But basically, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. So
Yeah, and
we're
whoever's on the chats, if you have any recommendations, I actually had a friend of mine ask me if we could do Final Fantasy. So I was like, yeah, find whatever popular sounds are, and
little
we'll do it.
Square Enix remix.
So here we go. So let's play this Star Wars. It's a soundtrack. Here we go.
You must learn the ways of the Force.
Wow. That's like one of the best things we've ever done, actually.
That really is.
That one was a true, like, Gonzalo made most of the Marvel beat. But when me and Gonzalo like team up and really go like 50-50, we create some wild stuff. So we
yeah.
we
My
put a lot
favorite
of
part
work
of
into
all
that.
this, I just want to share, is that alarm sound. So just so everybody knows what that sound was, I believe it's battle alarm. Yes, this.
All right.
Oh no. Oh, this is that's the loop version that I created. This is the original. There you go. That's it. It's just the battle alarm from Star Wars. And we just chopped it up
So
and
loud.
Yeah, we chopped it up and basically pitched it up and down, so we created that rhythm.
Show them what do? You right click on the sound to get to the pitch controls, right? Just to like,
Right.
just in case people
So
are
if I
wondering.
wanted to,
Oh, you
like,
click on edit.
Yeah, you click on edit, and then you could either 1 octave up or 1 octave down, or you can just change the pitch. The other cool thing about this is that it has auto tune. So
Right.
if you wanted to record your vocals and just add a little auto tune to it, you could also do that. And then I just want to big you up because, yo, these chops are serious. I just want to play these chops by themselves because this is exactly what I'm talking about. This reminds me of my work or the stuff that I used to do in Acid, because this is the only way at the time that you could actually create patterns. You had to cut them up. You had to figure out where they fit. You had to line them up, and then you had to copy and paste that every time. So let's listen to that part real quick because this is really dope. Here we go.
Play it.
And then wait, hold up. And then with the Vader breathing, oh my god.
Yeah.
So and just real quick, because I think one of the things that was really cool about doing this one was that we were able to find this, like, what was the guy's name? Oh my gosh, the sound designer. And
He had an interesting name. Yeah, the sound designer from the original Star Wars movies did a whole documentary where he said how he created and came up with the sounds, and it was so great to sample from that. Say again? Yes.
Ben Burt. Yes. Yeah. If you guys have an opportunity, go
With
check
two
out
T's.
Ben Burt, his documentary, and there's one that comes with all the minute markers of where these sounds, where he's talking about how he made these sounds. So like the lightsaber was done with like a long guy wire, and he was just tapping on it with a field recorder and just came out with that sound. And then manipulated it. So I mean, it's basically what we're doing here. Taking these sounds and manipulating them, using effects, chopping them up, and just making something different. Um, yeah, and the cool thing too was a lot of the sounds in here, like the 3CPO.
C3PO.
I'm 3C3PO. Wow, I always mess that up. Like they were made with synthesizers, so they were made with some musical elements involved to make those sounds. So
Yeah,
to
yeah.
take them and turn them into music just kind of makes sense.
Super awesome. So I just shared with Brian in the chat the link to that documentary with Ben Burt. If you're interested in seeing how the sounds in Star Wars were made, but also like learn a little bit about how you can layer sounds to create new sounds that are even more amazing. He did a lot of that. So it is 8:56, and I wanted to. We were gonna finish up around 9, so that was perfect. Thank you so much, Gonzalo, for breaking that down. Um, it's really awesome resource. This soundtrap.com, free. If you want, you could pay a little bit more for more sounds, but you could bring in your own sounds and whatnot, even with the free option. So it's just a great way that people can create music without breaking the bank and without having to have any specific device. You just need an internet connection.
Yeah, and to all the educators out there, yeah, this is a great resource, especially if you use the EDU account. You don't have to worry about it being unsafe for your students, because it's done into like a very like private chats, like these chats that we have over here. We're in control of that, so nobody else can see it unless we invite them to this particular project.
Awesome. So I want to say real quick, a shameless plug for Producer's Edge. We have our Facebook page, The Producer's Edge, and Instagram at producers_edge, and our YouTube, The Producer's Edge. And if you are watching now and you're fans of Launch, please, check us out as well, because we're doing programming with Launch, and we're doing our own programming as well. So upcoming workshops slash community events slash performances, like all this stuff is happening on our side as well. And we want to thank Launch. You guys rock, for giving us this platform to share what we love to do, the power of music, and we'll probably go beyond music into other realms as well. But basically, Launch is really like up and coming, massive, amazing place to also for community and for artists to get exposure, and for people to discover all this amazing music out there. And we're like so happy to be a part of it. And Brian, did you want to like remind us about there's a WeFunder coming, like that's occurring right now, where you can be a part of this? With your the Groot remix, right?
you tell Brian we can't hear him? Can't hear Brian.
That's the video game Nintendo remixing. So we're getting into the nerdosphere. Say it again? I don't know Metaran. Oh, Megaran. Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Sick.
Oh, I'm definitely checking that out.
Yeah, I just saw his Mega Man, Megaran.
Megaran.
Yeah. Oh, that's sick. That's so sick. What?
Love it.
Oh, that's so sick. Oh, that would be so dope. Yes. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, maybe we can make a beat sooner than later for him to write to or something. That would be, yeah, that's totally possible. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
I'm sorry, Brian. Somebody's saying that they're not able to hear you on Facebook.
Oh.
Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I forgot to turn my mic on.
Oh.
God damn it. That was such a good little spiel.
It was.
Okay.
Megaran. We're going to get him on here.
So, sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties, everyone.
Right.
This concludes the first ever nightly launch. We're building an infrastructure to support artists. So,
yeah. So if you didn't hear, what had just happened was basically next week for the video game thing, we're going to see if we can get Megaran to collaborate with us. We're not guaranteeing anything, but dope rapper that Brian woke us to. So I'm excited about that.
Totally. And lastly, we're doing a crowdfunding campaign now with the community-based investment platform WeFunder. And anyone who just wants to be a part of our vision and what we're creating, anyone who wants to create a world where artists are supported and we have the infrastructure and the marketing to get this out into the musical universe, we would love to have you check it out. So I dropped the link in the chat there. Thank you guys so much at Producer's Edge. Thank you for all the work you're doing, educating young folks and empowering artists. That's all about what we're about. Every day now you can come on Launch TV, and we're going to be doing a broadcast at 7 p.m. Eastern every night. So we'll be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock, the next day at 7 o'clock, the next day at 7 o'clock, the next day at 7 o'clock, and after that, 7 o'clock. Every day at 7 o'clock, the nightly launch is happening on Launch TV. Tune in next week, Wednesday, Producer's Edge, remixing video games. Thank you guys so much, and can't wait for the next one.
Awesome. Thank you again, and have a great night, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.